Oh, Coming to America 2, called Coming to America, I guess, with the letter with the number 2. That released, I forgot this was even coming out. I hope there was like a bad dream. But no, this movie actually released. It came out on Amazon Prime. It's only on Amazon Prime right now, Prime Video. So that's how you got to watch it if you're so inclined to watch it. But yes, Coming to America 2 came out. It pretty much reunites most of the cast, everybody who's still alive at least.
Yeah.
You know, you have his wife, still the queen. You have John Amos. You have Louis Anderson pop in a little bit. James Earl Jones was in it. Arsenio Hall, of course. Everybody big that we remember. Of course, you know, they reprised the old men, and the Randy Watson at the end came through. And it also tells a new story. Tracy Morgan's in it now. Leslie Jones appeared as well. And the story involves his son, who is found in America and he is brought back to Zamunda to be the prince.
Yeah. Wesley Snipes in it too.
Wesley Snipes in it as well. Did a great job. So I'll let you go first, Figgy.
You sure?
Okay, fuck it. I'll go first.
Get your shit off.
Yeah. So I came into this movie with very low expectations. I thought this was something that if they wanted to do it, they should have did it like 10, 15 years ago. It's been too long. Everybody is too old. It looks kind of weird now. It's depressing to see Salt and Pepper at 60 years old. Like seeing all my favorite people from the 90s just be super old now is depressing to me, man, because it's already tough enough getting old myself.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look at all my heroes from back in the day, and they crusty and old as shit.
It's like a 50-year high school reunion at that point.
It's depressing, man. Everybody fat and everybody old. So I came to this movie with very low expectations. Number one is PG-13, which is kind of crazy because the first one's rated R. They had a lot more edgy humor, I guess. Number one, let me, okay, my original thoughts on Coming to America, the movie, I always thought it was kind of overrated, man. Like, I thought it was a cool first half of a movie. The second half for me falls off. Like, I usually cut it off after the Randy Watson part because everything after that is kind of not as funny and whack. But the first half is classic, you know, the barbershop dudes arguing, James Earl Jones. Like, it is a very funny movie for the first half. The second half for me kind of falls off, man. But still, I didn't think they needed to make a sequel. But they did. I had a problem. Okay, I will go chronologically. Now, the first 15 minutes of the movie are actually pretty good. I was watching it and I was like, okay, because the reviews were terrible, but I was watching the first 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, what's everybody's problem with this? It's reuniting everybody. John Amos don't look as old as I thought he would. John Amos is actually looking okay for his age. James Earl Jones, which might be the last time we see him active in a movie, he did a good job as well. So I'm watching the movie and I'm actually having a pretty good time seeing some of these actors we haven't seen in a long time. And I'm like, okay, this might be pretty good. But as soon as they go to America and bring back the prince, I call him Jack Freeman because he looks a lot like Jack Freeman. So
he do.
He looked just like Jack Freeman. The prince who came from America. Yeah. Once he came in the picture, everything got kind of corny and played out and not funny. And that was the rest of the movie. That was like 20 minutes in. And the rest of the movie was trash. The story was stupid. Wesley Snipes was great. I'll give him Wesley Snipes.
He did this. It was good seeing Wesley, man.
Wesley Snipes can still, like, you could tell he still loves acting. You could tell he still loves being the villain. Because he might be one of the great villains of all time. Him and Demolition Man, classic. So Wesley Snipes is a good villain. You could tell he's having fun on set. You could tell he's having a good time with whatever role he's playing. So yeah, Wesley Snipes was great. He was one of the few highlights in this trash because the story was exactly what you think it's going to be. 15 minutes into it, you already know how it's going to end. And it is it's just reliving the same jokes. The production value is very poor. It's lit up like a sitcom, man. Like it don't even look like a real movie. It looks like a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah,
Everything is.
It kind of remind me of like a Did you used to watch Boys Meet World at one point?
Yes.
And remember they did Girls Meet World or
Yes.
Girl Meets World, and it was on Disney.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of remind me of. You know that Disney feel. You know how That's So Raven look, where it just look kind of cheesy a little bit. That's what it kind of remind me of. This was like the Disney version of Coming to America.
Yes, honestly, it was, man. Like, there's a bunch of shit that I felt was for kids. Like, none of the edgy jokes were in there. It was very, very just. They didn't need to do it, man. I would have been okay with the Fresh, like, you know how the Fresh Prince had the reunion special.
Yeah,
I would have been okay with that. I would have been okay with let's have the whole cast come back and relive their experience about the movie. And let's have that be like an hour-long special. I would have watched that. I would have enjoyed that. But seeing them do a new movie, seeing them bring in Rick Ross is in it for no reason, Tiana Taylor in it for no reason.
That was probably the one part I laughed at when Rick Ross talking in an African accent.
Prince Hakeem has a son on the way. He was struggling. You could tell he had like several takes, and that was the best one they got.
Yeah, they clearly put him in the movie because they was filming at his house. So they
probably.
All right, we'll give you a part. we give you a script.
I feel like number one, all the music that played in the movie was trash. Like some shit you never heard of. I don't know if it was like some music label got behind this and said you got to play this music, but it was a bunch of corny music playing throughout. Tiana Taylor. She looked good. That's all I could say about her.
She didn't really have much of a role though.
Yeah, because she can't act. They had her say like 5 lines and that was it. And she was struggling. But she was dancing though. I'll give her that much. She looked good as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this movie is exactly as bad as you think it's going to be. I would not recommend watching the whole thing unless, it's a big family gathering and everybody's watching it. Maybe you'll have some fun making fun of it. But I can't recommend this movie, man. I got to say, this movie is pigpen status.
Pigpen mentality.
A pigpen mentality in this movie throughout. I can't remember the last time I had a real struggle getting through a movie. Like I kept pausing it and getting on Twitter, and I kept pausing it and going to do something else. And it took me, I want to say 4 hours to finish a movie that's about an hour and 30 minutes long.
Damn.
Like it was so painful to get through for me, man. It was so cringeworthy towards the middle with this new nigga who can't act. And the whole story about the queen needs to be it annoyed me. It was very hard to get through, man. It was very hard to sit through and watch the whole thing. Like I said, the first 15 minutes were great because you see everybody. You see they're still, doing their thing. But after that, man, it is a tough watch. But maybe I'm hating too hard, man. Figgy, what were your thoughts on this?
I feel the same way, man. I think it was hard to watch. I watched it with my wife, and my wife, she loved comedy movies. She loved the shit that just make her laugh. She loved that type of shit. When I tell you she didn't crack one laugh, one smile, like I thought she fell asleep for a minute. I had to check. She was just up watching it. Like we didn't crack one laugh. Like the only times I laughed during when Rick Ross turned around and said what he said. I actually laughed at that part because it was Rick Ross. The other things that was so random about this movie, just all the people they had, all the actors and actresses they had in it. Like, why is Morgan Freeman in here?
Yes.
That was the most random thing ever. This really seemed like a actress Black Hollywood family reunion type thing.
Yes.
They said everybody from the 80s to the 90s.
Gladys Knight for no reason.
Yeah, Gladys Knight. Yeah. Like, let's just gather everybody. John Amos. let's gather. I know he was in it, but it seemed like all the oldest actors and actresses from the 90s to the 80s, let's put them all in one movie. Like shit, I felt like I missed out for not being in it. It seemed like everybody was in it, and it was kind of strange. But some other things that I thought was a little weird. I thought the story, I really wanted to watch this to see how they spin him having a son. Because if you watch the first Coming to America, he wasn't with any other woman but Lisa McDowell. So in the previews, they say, oh, you got a son in Queens, blah, blah. I was wondering how was they going to spin this? Because he was only with the one girl the whole time. He ain't sleep with nobody else. He ain't so his royal oats in the first one. And the way they spin it, I ain't really care for it. I feel like they tried as far as the storytelling. Like, remember that time we was in the bar and we was trying to talk to the other girls, and then they kind of, they did that young facial recognition or whatever that is.
Yeah, de-aged them.
Yeah,
so it looked like 80s. Yeah, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, so they did that. I cringed through that part the whole time. Like,
yeah, it looked bad.
It was kind of creative to try to make it, I guess, to make the story a little better instead of just saying, hey, you got a son, you have slept with this random woman this one time. So I kind of get it, but I ain't like that part at all either. But yeah, as far as the whole movie, man, I feel like I wasted my time trying to watch this.
It was, and I'm glad you brought that up too, man. Like, are we okay with a literal rape being the focus of the movie? Because it looked to me like Eddie Murphy's character was drugged and raped. Yeah. And they just kind of make light of it. Like, oh, I just forgot about that because she gave me some crazy weed. Like, this nigga got raped and had a kid. And yeah, I wrote it off because it was a dumb movie to begin with. But that was a stupid way for them to introduce the fact that he had a son. It was very silly. And also, I feel like this movie should not have been called Coming to America. There are maybe 2 scenes in America in this film.
Yeah.
It should have been called Coming to Zamunda because that's where most of the movie takes place.
Yeah.
So it really had nothing to do with America. He goes to America for 2 seconds to get his son, and he just comes with him. And I thought they were going to throw in a twist, like they were going to say that wasn't really his son.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought they were that was an obvious thing to do because there was never any proof that was his son.
Yeah.
There was never any DNA test or nothing. So I figured it was going to be some kind of mistaken identity thing to where she admits she was a hoe and that wasn't actually his son, but she just said it because he was rich. Yeah. So that never happened.
Wait, how did he even know that was his son?
Because the old African dude drew a picture of him. And he found something that looked like the picture, and he said, "You're my son."
That's the other thing. Who was he supposed to be? Dude, Rakifi from Lion King?
I guess so. He was Arsenio Hall in some ridiculous makeup. Yeah, so this movie is just a waste of time, honestly.
Have you been seeing the feedback about this movie?
Yeah, I've seen it.
What are your thoughts on the feedback as far as this movie? Because I've been my time, I don't know how your timeline look, but my timeline, it's been a lot of people saying, oh, why are y'all hating on this movie? It kind of remind me of when that new Lion King came out. Yeah, people was trying to defend that, saying, oh, why y'all hating? This is beautiful, and y'all just stuck in the Stone Age, blah 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 blah. So did you see a lot of that on your timeline?
See, here's the thing, and this is why the people who made this script are kind of brilliant, because they made it in a way to where if you complain about it, you look like you're misogynistic, you look like you're racist, because it's a movie with quote unquote Black excellence in it. It's a movie about quote unquote female empowerment. So if you dislike this movie on Twitter, it means you are misogynistic, it means you are a woman hater, and it means you're racist.
Yeah.
And you don't appreciate Black excellence. Yeah. But this movie sucks. There's nothing more to say about it. It was terrible. It's not funny. And the plot made no sense. And of course, it's a comedy. It ain't got to make sense. But the production value was low. Like you said, it looked like a fucking Disney movie. a Disney Channel movie, and it was a very poor follow-up to a classic comedy film. But yeah, like it has all the Twitter check marks, so you can't openly hate on it.
Yeah.
Without being seen as problematic and toxic.
Yeah. Let me read you something. Somebody made a long ass post about it.
Oh no.
Let me read this. Dear Black delegation, we have a bad habit of trashing art that has been revisited because we expect to feel the same way we felt when we experienced it for the first time. 30 years ago, Eddie Murphy captured lightning in the bottle and he made a perfect movie. He actually did it twice with Harlem Nights, three times with Boomerang, 4 with Life. Is anything, in all caps, as good as or great as the first time? Doubtful. The second time around is a movie. The second time around is a good movie if viewed with the proper lens. It had a decent story and excellent acting. You won't laugh as much as the first one, but there are some funny moments. We should be grateful. 99% of the original cast is still alive to even do this movie. Chill, in all caps. You're not going to feel the same way you did 30 years ago. So a lot of people were saying facts, preach. So I just don't get it because, look, first of all, we should be able to critique a movie. Like, if we don't like a movie, we don't like it. Like, don't call us a hater because we don't like the movie. It's a bunch of movies we don't like. But just like, don't give me the, oh yeah, it's Black excellence in this movie, so I can't criticize it. Like, no, that's crazy to me. I should be able to criticize any movie I want to. Like, I'm not treating this no different from any other movie. Now, Adam Sandler announced that Happy Gilmore 2 is coming.
Oh my God.
I think that will be probably as worse as this, if not worse. So, like, I would give it that same energy. If I watch that, I would give it the same energy. So I don't want to hear, oh, it's Black excellence, it's beautiful, and all this other stuff. Like, nah, like this, nobody was asking for a part 2 of this movie. This movie was just fine the way it is back in '88. Like, nobody was, hitting their fists on the table saying, hey, we need a part 2 to this. They wrapped that movie up where we didn't even think it would be a part 2. So I just don't get the cop out people saying, hey, this is Black excellence. We need, no, that's good. That's good. It's good to see everybody in it. But like, I can't sit here and lie and say the movie was good because, there's a bunch of Black people in it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have a number of problems with that statement, man. Number one, I agree. Some people might be too hard on Black entertainment, considering the standard matters. Okay, the context matters. Like, for example, that Houston-made DJ Screw documentary, I didn't think it was great, but I'm not going to criticize it like it was a Hollywood film. It was a local production done by people who were just trying to honor the man.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here like a Roger Ebert and break down why I didn't like it. I'm like, okay, it was cool for what it was. This is a major Hollywood motion picture, man, with Eddie Murphy, who's been in Hollywood for 40 years?
Yeah.
Like, I'm judging him by his own standard of comedy.
Yeah.
I'm judging him on his past work. And if it's not as good, then that's a problem. That means it should have been better or not even bothered with. Because you're bringing up the fact that nothing's better the second time. Exactly. So why is there a second time?
Yeah.
If you already know it's not going to be as good, why do it?
Yeah.
Like, you're setting yourself up for failure. And yeah, like I said, it was nice to see the cast reunited. They were only in it for a little bit, but it was nice to see them reunited. But no, I'm not going to give this movie any passes, man, because everybody in the beginning was saying, don't do it. There's no reason to. And they did it anyway. They did it with a cheap production value, I feel. And it was not. Yes. And the script was not funny. It didn't have any of the original magic, man. And yeah, we're going to critique it based, like, it's a sequel, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to do a reunion special, like I said, I would have been all for that. But you said, let's make a new one because you want the money that comes with it. And you want the money from people who saw it and saw the magic the first time. but you already admit it's not as good. So, like, nah, I'm not falling for that shit, man. We can criticize this movie for being terrible. It did not need to be this bad.
Yeah.
There was no reason for it to be this bad.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if they would have made a movie similar to this, and it was something totally different, but it was kind of mimicking Coming to America somehow, I wouldn't have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Because they're not trying to make a part 2 and try to add to the story and stuff like that. I would have no problem with that. But I just feel like nobody was asking for this. So I just had a problem with it. As far as inside the movie, a couple things bother me. I'm not a big Leslie Jones fan.
Me neither. I do not like her in this
Like,
movie either.
Yeah, like I don't know. Is she a stand-up comedian type thing? I never saw anything.
Yeah.
I never saw anything of that. So I ain't gonna sit there and criticize her as far as that. But the movies and the shows I seen her in, I never laughed. I felt like she wasn't really funny in this. What's his name? Tracy
Morgan.
Tracy Morgan. I felt like he wasn't funny either. It was just kind of like, why? I cringed too many times, man.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it just wasn't necessary. And just then the end of it. Did you watch the end? I had to cut the end off. Like,
I saw it till the credits rolled.
Yeah, I didn't even see that part. But how is everybody there in Zamunda at once? Like, why? Like, if the prince is getting married there, like, why is the dudes from the barbershop in there? Why is Sexual Chocolate?
They flew in, Sexual Chocolate and Randy Watson there.
Yeah,
too.
so everybody from Queens just rode into Zamunda. So it's just that part, and then the perform the We Are Family. It's just like,
yeah,
like that had Tyler Perry written all over it.
Yeah.
So I had to cut it off at that point, man. So, I don't know. The other part that bothered me a little bit. This is no disrespect to the lady who played Lisa McDowell. I thought she looked beautiful. It was good to see her. She still looked good, but I felt like she had too much. She had way too many lines in this movie. Like, I don't want to see her drunk. I don't want to see her singing the Humpty dance or whatever. I felt like she had way too much lines in this one. Not saying she shouldn't have, but just
no, she shouldn't have.
Her role in the first one was perfect. She was the girl that Eddie Murphy was chasing. And so she played that good girl. Like, I don't want to see her sitting there pissed and drinking and all this other shit. To me, it's like, I felt like that wasn't even needed. Like, she the queen. So I just felt like they could have played that part a little better.
No, I mean, she was not a good actress even in the first one, man. Like, I never really understood her role. I always thought her black friend looked a lot better. And of course, it was the 80s. Honestly, like, no,
I'm just saying, a lot of people don't say that though.
Now they don't.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day, of course, the light-skinned woman was the most sought after woman in the black community. So the black dark-skinned woman was like the Pam of the movie, played up as being ugly and wild.
She wasn't even in it.
That I know. Is she dead? Like, I gotta look her up. Why was she not in it? Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, she was not a good actress, man, and she did not do a good job in this one either. They gave her a bigger role, and she couldn't really, like, I mean, she looked fine for her age. I'm not knocking that, but yeah, she did not need to do all this much. It was, I don't know, the movie's just depressing, man, in a lot of ways. It just did not need to be made. Like I said, a good job with getting people together. I'm a huge fan of James Earl Jones, so knowing this might be one of the last times we see him on screen, like, that was special to me, man. I thought he did a good job, too, considering how old he is. He did a good job. John Amos, I'm a big fan of Good Times, so I like seeing him, too.
I did like that part. One of my favorite parts was Hakeem or Eddie Murphy and McDowell was mopping. And then he started talking to John Amos. That kind of brought back a little nostalgia, too, of him. That was his first job, his first real job. So that part, I got to give credit to that part. I thought that part was dope. That was a little creative on the writing part.
I did. I like that part. I like James Earl Jones having a funeral for himself while he's still alive for no reason.
Yeah.
But some shit like that I liked. But yeah, the movie, and look, people are allowed to not like movies even if they're black movies, okay? Like, I feel like the black community needs a higher standard of quality. I'll be real. Shows like Power need to be better. Like, our TV shows and movies got to be better.
And see,
like
I think they will if we kind of critique it a little more.
Yes.
If we kind of, hit our, fist on the table and say, nah, like, come on, like, we could do better than this. But if we keep using the excuse of, oh, this is a black cast, oh, this is a black producer, this is black excellence, they're gonna keep making the same shit.
Exactly.
Like if people, just imagine if people hold Tyler Perry to a high standard and saying, we need something else. Like, we need something else. He will probably he will probably do something else. Like, I ain't saying he can't, but why would he stop if people keep giving them this pass of, it's a black man who was homeless at one point. And you can't critique. No, you hating because he ain't had money at first. Now he got this whole $1 million, studio in Atlanta. So no, like, why is you hating on the movie? Like, I never understood that.
Yeah, me neither. Like, I'm glad Tyler Perry made it out of whatever he got out of, but the stuff he produces is terrible. Like, if it was a white person, I'd be just as hard, if not harder, on the fact that these movies are trash, man, and the shows are trash. But I don't know. I never rode with that. And like I said, like, it's not the same standard. Like, if there's a local artist, I'm not going to judge him like he's Drake. I'll be like, hey, this is good for what you're at right now. But when you put out a Hollywood movie, a Hollywood film, I'm going to judge that on that standard. It's not an indie film. It's not some shit that was it might be independently produced, but Tyler Perry is a millionaire who's been making movies forever. He knows how to make. He could make a good movie if he really wanted to. I believe that.
Yeah.
But he'd rather just make 50 in a week.
Yeah.
And push out quality or quantity over quality is his main thing, and I don't like that. So,
and let's be real. I mean, it's making no money. So
I can't be mad at it.
If I was in the same position, if we had some type of cheesy podcast that a lot of people probably criticize, but it's making us money, it's an audience for it, I wouldn't just stop doing that. Like, it's making us money. Just roll with the hot hand. That we tell artists that all the time. When people was talking about Meg, how she only rap about one thing or a couple things, like, I wasn't sitting here saying, hey, she need to rap about something else too. Like, no, that's her bread right now. Like, so just keep doing it until it, like, ain't no point in trying to switch up. Like, if you notice out there, keep doing it.
And you notice too, like, they didn't come out with that complaint. They only came out with that complaint after she had made it big. Yeah. Which goes to my point to where, if you're doing a local thing, keep doing your thing, but the standard gets higher the bigger you get.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a Hollywood film, a sequel to a classic comedy. I'm going to hold you to that standard. I'm not going to be like, well, it's black people, black produced it, so it gets a pass from me. Like, no, I'm going to judge it the same way I would judge any Hollywood film that's produced to be a sequel to a classic.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. I feel like the people that's really enjoying this movie really like Home Alone 3.
I don't know, man. Some people, and it's the remake. I was hoping at this point in our time, the remake and reboot would be dead by now, but it's just not going anywhere, dog. If you talk about Happy Gilmore 2, why, man? Like, can niggas let their childhood go?
Yeah.
Can we just let the old school shit go? Yeah. Like, I feel like in the 90s, we had a whole lot of original content and hardly anything was a sequel of shit that came out in the 80s. Like, they still made Rambo movies and shit, but for the most part, things were original and new. And now it's just like we're in a perpetual cycle of bringing back the reboot and bringing back the remake 40 years after the fact. Like, enough, man. Can we please move on as a culture?
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, I don't want to see no Happy Gilmore 2.
Yes.
Like, don't try to remake Boys in the Hood or
Yes.
all this other shit, man. It's just, I don't know. It's just crazy. And my thing is, nobody was asking for this. Like, nobody was sitting there saying we need a part 2. They didn't wrap up the story or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the story was wrapped up. The story ended beautifully. So, like, this, like, it's one thing for, if we're talking about the movie Friday, because they left it open where, you could do so much with it. And they did. They remade 2 more movies after that. But they wrapped this movie up in 88. So I just don't get it, man. See, like, it's to me, it seemed like it was a movie reunion, just getting everybody together and showing, hey, we're doing pretty good. And a money grab, man. I'm gonna be honest. It seemed like a money grab.
It was, man. It was. So, yeah, like we said, good to see everybody back together. But honestly, don't waste your time. If you do watch it, only watch like the first 15 minutes. I do legit believe that was decent. But anything after that, once they introduce the new kid and the new characters, it goes downhill pretty quick. But your rating, man. What would you give this Coming to America 2?
The hogs, the pigs, pig
Laying in the
pen,
pig pen with the slop. Pig pen status. Coming to America 2. Pig pen status by the Gems and Juice podcast. Don't waste your time. But yeah, hopefully Eddie, because I thought that Eddie Murphy was on the come up with that Dolomite movie. I thought the Dolomite movie was pretty good. And I think that was R-rated too. So I was like, okay, we getting the edgy Eddie Murphy back. But then he does this PG-13 Coming to America 2 bullshit. And now I'm like, eh.
Yeah. The other part too, we can leave after this, but just the cheesiness, the fart sounds.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to see the lion farting. You know what I mean? Like it's just too goofy for me, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I tuned out like that whole part of the lion part, man. The lion looked terrible, dog. The lion was so fake looking.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. It seemed like they was forcing themselves trying to be funny. Like, have you ever been around somebody who tried to be funny?
Yeah.
Like forcing it on you? Like, it's not funny at that point. And I felt like the original one, I felt like they wasn't even trying to be funny. And just the little small shit was hilarious.
The Soul Glow commercial, which was so random and out of nowhere, but it was classic and hilarious. I still laugh at that shit when I see it.
Yeah, remember that part with with Samuel L. Jackson? He should have. I was surprised he wasn't in it. But remember that part where he tried to rob the place? Like, that part, I don't think that part was supposed to be funny, but that part was funny as hell. Anybody move, I'll blow your fucking head off. just that little part is just like, oh shit. Like, I don't know. It wasn't that, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed. We talked about this like 3 years ago too, about them, because there was rumors they was remaking this, and we all said hell no. So this is, I don't know.
It's bad, man. It's not funny at all. And just pass on it if you can. If you ain't seen it yet, you ain't missing much. So Pigpen Status by the Jim's Juice podcast.